More than half of the world's population live in cities today. With the rapid urbanization all over, women and young people, especially girls, have become increasingly vulnerable to violence, sexual aggression, and harassment in the city, both in public and private spaces, or even within their own communities. Recognizing this, UN Women, which has been committed to women's equality in both private and public spaces, launched the global program on safe cities free of violence against women and girls in 2010.
There are 5 cities now that are participating in the global Safe Cities project, and the goal of the Safe Cities program is to work closely with municipal governments, sometimes also at the state level, but mainly focused on infrastructure at the municipal level, together with civil society partners and UN partners. In some countries we are working with UNICEF and with UN Habitat to ensure that public infrastructure guarantees women's safety.
The agenda was to move it beyond being seen as primarily a women's issue to an issue of stakeholders of the city, which included the urban planners, the police, the transport department, and a range of other stakeholders, the education department, etc., so that it becomes a broad-based issue with a multi-stakeholder, multi-strategic approach.
The Delhi program was a collaborative effort between UN Women, UN Habitat, the Government of Delhi and Jagori, which was UN Women's NGO partner for implementing the program on the ground. As a first step in 2010, New Concept Information Systems conducted an extensive survey of over 5,000 respondents across the 9 districts of New Delhi to look into factors that make the public spaces of the city unsafe for women.
What had been happening earlier was that we were coming out with a number of ad hoc interventions, whether it was in any sphere of safety for women or children or whatever, but it was never backed by detailed statistics and analysis. So the idea was to give it a very structured view to actually find out whether the perceptions that we have about Delhi being unsafe, about transport being unsafe in Delhi, and the kind of different perceptions that everyone has, that should be backed by some amount of data through a survey, through a baseline.
Taking this further, based on a scoping study conducted by UN Women and the Center for Media Studies in 2011, 5 municipal corporation wards were selected as project intervention sites: Badarpur, Molarband, Malviya Nagar, Haus Khas and Mehrauli.
UTPEC, this is a body which was created for giving all the approval of the transportation projects of the city. And particularly as far as we are concerned, we are working on the public space, roads, its design, and how it can be made more safe in terms of accident free, and also issues related to the women's safety and all. And even prior to that, we were very much clear about one thing, that eyes on the street is a very important component of any kind of street design. The way we plan for a design for a public space, it needs to be properly again relooked, so that the importance of activating a public space, not only provided with a proper lighting and all, even the activating, there is a huge amount of dead space all around. So this is as far as the basic project level is concerned.
प्रॉब्लम यही थी कि रात के टाइम ज़्यादा वक्त में हम कहीं जा नहीं सकते थे और यही डर होता था कि कहीं ऐसी घटना ना घट जाए हमारे साथ कि कहीं कुछ हमारे घर के लिए या हमारे रिश्तेदारों के लिए प्रॉब्लम बन जाए, तो इसलिए हम वक्त बे वक्त कहीं जा नहीं पाते थे। लेकिन अब ऐसी कुछ संस्थाएं हैं जिससे हम जुड़े, काम किया जिसके साथ, तो हमारे अंदर से ये डर बिल्कुल निकल गया है।
There have been a couple of very interesting steps that have resulted in key milestones. One of them is the creation of the baseline data, which has been unique, which has been on scale, and which really brought the attention of policymakers and the public at large to the issue of women's safety. The second issue was also looking at the issue beyond just the Department of Women and Child, that it was not the responsibility of women alone to look at issues of women's safeties. It is a concern of everybody in the government and everyone in society. So the move towards a multi-sector approach and the development of a strategic framework has been another milestone. The third important and effective step was also to be able to invest very deeply into communities and to be able to surface the leadership of women and young people, to be able to use technology, to use the tools of safety audits. So I think that it is no longer today any one NGO or any one governance issue. This is an issue that concerns the whole country.
सामने कोई लाइट नहीं है और यहाँ एक लाइट दी भी है तो वो पूरी टहनी में ढकी हुई है, रोशनी पड़ने, पूरी तरह रोशनी नहीं है।
As a follow-up to the survey and the study, extensive consultations were held with key stakeholders in the government and the civil society. A draft strategic framework was developed to identify 7 critical areas of interventions such as public transport, civic awareness and partnership building, education, school and colleges, urban planning and design of public spaces, provision and maintenance of public infrastructure and services, policing, and legislation, justice and support to victims.
जो जनरली लड़कियां फेस करती हैं वो चलते फिरते हैरेसमेंट होता है, इधर उधर छेड़ दिया, तो वो प्रॉब्लम वो ज़्यादा फेस करती हैं, जिनके बारे में वो एकदम से रिएक्ट नहीं कर पाती, जिनकी उन्हें ट्रेनिंग की रिक्वायरमेंट है। हम लोग भी पूरी कोशिश करते हैं उनको मोटिवेट करें, थोड़ा सा उनका जो डर होता है उस चीज़ को ख़त्म करें।
दिल्ली में सार्वजनिक जगहों पर पुरुषों का दबदबा है और महिलाओं के लिए वहां जाना सहज।
Through meetings with the Department of Women and Child Development, the Chief Secretary of Delhi and consultations with partners, the participatory project design was conceived that also laid stress on increase in the outreach of services, engaging men and boys in prevention efforts and strengthening community collectives. It realized the need to address gender equality in school curricula and gender safety checklist guidelines along with the Public Works Department.
अंदर की तरफ 3 व्हीलर में छेड़छाड़ तो होती है, ये तो है हमारी टीटीसी की बसों का कोई वहाँ प्रबंध नहीं है।
Messaging in public transport and display of women's helpline numbers, sensitization of bus drivers and conductors, catalyzing media campaigns to include the voices of youth and advocating for a rights-based approach to sexual assault and violence.
When we began the 2-day workshop with a diverse group of teachers, we really were wondering that what are the different ideas that the school teachers can come up with, and would it be possible for them to actually integrate the entire concept of safe city and gender based violence in their given system of interaction with the students.
This workshop has helped me become more aware of those issues, so I might design the workshop and conduct the workshop a little differently to suit this particular set of teachers.
A validation workshop thereafter helped to deepen partnerships and establish convergent institutional mechanisms. In strategic action planning, Roles, responsibilities and time schedules were decided, resources allocated and indicators set. Finally, the strategy was adopted and implemented. During the course of the program, over 700 meetings were held with community women and youth, and over 200 meetings organized with stakeholders like councillors, elected representatives and other public servants. In addition, over 150 capacity building workshops were organized with women and youth.
हम लोग आगे की अगर बात करते हैं तो उनको तैयार करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि कैसे वो लोग अपने मुद्दों को या मुद्दे को समझेंगे और उस मुद्दे की पहल के लिए आगे लोगों को पहल करवाने के लिए और लोगों को जोड़ेंगे और उन लोगों को जोड़ते हुए संख्या लोगों की बढ़ेगी, जिसमें यूथ महिलाएं भी होंगी, पुरुष भी होंगे, लड़के भी होंगे, लड़कियां भी होंगे और वो एक तरह का एक ऐसे समूह बनेगा जिसमें कि जैसे कि एक नागरिक समूह होता है और नागरिक समूह आगे अपने मुद्दों को ले जाता है और खुद ही पहल करता है।
महिलाओं की अवेयरनेस की बहुत ज़रूरत है। क्या क्या प्रावधान हमारे देश के कानून में है, इनका पता हर एक को होना चाहिए। जितने लड़कियों के स्कूल हैं वहाँ पे अगर सेंटर लगा के उन्हें इसके बारे में अवेयर किया जाए कि ये प्रोविजंस हैं, इस तरह के वॉयलेशन पे आप इस एजेंसी को जाके कॉन्टेक्ट कर सकते हैं। अगर हम ऐसा करेंगे तो कहीं न कहीं महिलाओं में एक आत्मशक्ति का जागरण होगा और वो अपने बारे में बने हुए कानूनों की जानकारी पा पाएंगी और अपनी बातों को रख भी पाएंगी सरकार के सामने।
Efforts have been put in place to improve the responses of service providers such as the Delhi Police helplines, improve interface between police and women's groups, develop curriculums and trainings with the police and other NGOs, and conduct training of 50 helpline operators. Technology has been used innovatively by developing a mobile application on safety in the city. Developed by Kalpana Vishwanath in partnership with Jagori, this app called Safety Pin is now widely being used by young women across the city. To ensure safe and inclusive schools, UN Women, along with its program partners, has conducted safety audits in schools. School safety guidelines have been developed and the school curriculum has been reviewed, along with the State Council of Educational Research and Training. At the policy level, the first phase of the project undertook policy submissions to relevant committees and commissions, partnered with Women's Feature Service to bring out several media articles, held dialogues with policymakers, and organized public campaigns on women's safety. At the community level, collectives were strengthened by mapping women's concerns through surveys and focused group discussions, based on which a core of women and youth was developed and services for survivors ensured.
All the tools that we have developed, all the knowledge products that we have developed, all the learnings that we have developed, we have shared with our sister organizations across the country. And I think that is a very important piece of what we're doing. So whether it's in the Northeast in Assam with the Northeast Women's Network, in Kerala where we simultaneously worked with them in 4 cities, in Chennai, in Mumbai, in Bangalore, the fact that knowledge was transmitted as we were experiencing it and shared very widely also resulted in many groups working as a network of organizations to confront this issue at a more national level.
Some significant milestones achieved during the course of UN Women's Safe Cities program were women's safety in the capital becoming a political issue in 2012, establishment of an interdepartmental committee to implement gender-sensitive measures, and setting up of a new helpline for women by the Chief Minister's Office in December 2012. The Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013, included new forms of sexual violence in public spaces. Messaging in DTC buses regarding police helpline numbers for women was incorporated. UTTI PEC, which is the key infrastructure planning body of the Delhi government, accepted recommendations from UN Women's Delhi Safe City program and issued women's safety guidelines for the city.
We have reached a point where a lot of government departments are independently framing their own agendas and their own action plans. There's a moment in the Safe Cities initiative in Delhi whereby the nature of engagement with stakeholders can take a positive leap towards something much more fruitful.
UN Women's Safe Cities program in Delhi has become a model for other cities to follow. In a city like Delhi that adds over 100,000 people every year, this has been a small but significant beginning.